Philip's night out. It was the end of a busy day on the island of Sodor. Stanley, Charlie, and Carter were all waiting to go to sleep when Philip bustled in. "Oh, I've had a very splendid day," said Stanley. "I was working with Henry at Vickerstown Station." "Oh, I saw Henry this morning," said Philip. "He was with Edward. It was so much fun." "Philip," interrupted Carter, "Stanley is trying to tell his story." Stanley was upset. "I was talking first, Philip. You had to interrupt me." "I'm sorry, but I just had the most overjoyful day." Even Charlie was growing tiresome. "Philip, I think it's right to respect Stanley. He was trying to tell his story." "Oh, but let me tell my story first." "No," they all said together. Philip was disappointed. "You have to learn manners," said Stanley. "Why don't you just go get lost into the night, why don't you? Maybe you'll learn some manners after having a trip out on Sodor. You've never experienced Sodor at night. You're only a daytime engine," Carter added. Philip was hurt. "I'm sorry, but I was only so excited." "Forget your excitement," said Carter. "Go find yourself another shed," added Stanley. Philip had never felt so hurt before. "Fine. If you want me to go so badly, then I'll leave." Charlie saw that Philip was really leaving. "I think you guys took it too far," said Charlie. "Never mind," said Stanley. "At least now we'll have some peace and quiet in the sheds." Philip journeyed out through the night. It was very dark out, and it was getting later and later into the evening. Then Philip heard strange sounds. He heard a clanging and a banging on the tracks. Philip didn't know that it was only Emily's boiler cooling down at night. Philip was worried, but he plucked up courage and journeyed on. "This is fun," said Philip. "I'll go further." And he hurried past. Then Philip heard more strange sounds. He saw an engine along his tracks next to him. Philip had no idea that it was James. James's steam was wheezing. Philip thought it was a ghost. Ooh. James's steam made the sound of a ghost. Then Philip saw the engine puffing away. "It's an engine," said Philip. "I'll go further." Then Philip saw more steam wheezing. He heard a clang on his wheels, but it was Henry biffing into him. Philip carried on. Then Philip arrived to the side of a tunnel. He heard chuffing and puffing. Out came a lady with coal cars and diesel. Philip couldn't see as it was so dark out for him to see. "I'd better go back to the sheds," said Philip. "Even though I'm not wanted there, I bet it's safe to be safer than sorry," so to speak. By the time Philip had arrived, it was already morning. He had journeyed out the whole night and was none the worse for his adventure. I have to tell you guys about how splendid I was in the night. Although he was only talking to Charlie, he didn't dare talk to Carter or Stanley. Woo woo. "Charlie, I had a beautiful night. Although there were some strange sounds and spooky noises, it was fun." "Carter, I'm sorry I made you upset the other night," said Philip. "And please, if you see Stanley, do tell him I'm sorry as well." "No, it's not even that," said Carter. "You have to learn respect." "Woo-woo." "Philip, you shouldn't journey out like that anymore," said Edward. "It was very dangerous, and everyone said that you were lucky you didn't get hurt out there, especially without your lamp on." "Oh no," said Philip. "I didn't even realize I don't have my lamp on." "You should," said Edward. "It's a safety precaution." Philip couldn't believe it. Philip hurried down the line with his trucks. He was trying to get his work done quickly so he could venture out before the night came again. Philip puffed through the tunnel. His wheels skidded on the rails and he derailed. Philip was hanging dangerously over the edge. Bust my lamp. Then Rocky arrived. He was being pushed by Stanley and Carter. Carter and Stanley were racing down the line. They wanted to make sure that Philip was alright. "Philip, is that you?" said Stanley. "We're here to rescue you," called Carter. "Don't worry, I'm fine," said Philip as Rocky was lifting him back onto the low loader. Carter was coupled to Philip's cars, and Stanley and Rocky got Philip back onto Rocky's low loader. Philip was pleased. He felt steady as Stanley pulled him away, and Carter quickly followed. They had to head home. Carter, Philip, Rocky, and Stanley were chuffing back to the yards at Knapford. They were going quickly. They didn't want Philip to get in trouble with the fat controller. They puffed through stations, and Philip saw that it was James and Henry who he had seen last night. At last, everyone was back on the rail, silent and solitary, but Stanley spoke first. "Philip, Carter and I are sorry that we were so rude and disrespectful. Maybe we should have taken time to hear your adventure. Would you like to tell us?" "All right," said Philip, and Philip began sharing his adventures of his wonderful night out. It was so much fun.